I bought livestock, very little background, very little, and then I was drafted,
What year was that?
41.
Okay.
And they said my friends and neighbors drafted me, but I said the bastards might have been my neighbors, they weren't my friends. And
Well,
then,
what part of 41 was that you were drafted?
May 2nd,
Okay.
before the war ever broke out,
Okay. Where'd they send you?
to Camp Claiborne, Louisiana.
For basic training?
Yes.
How long were you there?
Oh, until about the end of the year.
Okay, now how old were you when you went into the service?
23.
Okay. Had you graduated from high school?
Yes.
Where at?
Millersburg High School.
And that's in Iowa County?
Yes.
And when you went into service, you were married, right?
Well, not when I went in. I was married on my wife's birthday. We were. And
What year was that?
December 23rd of 41.
41. 54 years ago. Okay. Okay.
It would be this December. But I'd been buying livestock. I had trucks. Bought livestock, then I was drafted and sent to the National Guard unit. Mostly they were from Cedar Rapids and Iowa City.
Okay. And you were kind of from that area too.
Yes, I was from that area.
So a bunch of you got drafted at the same time and you went to basic together?
Yeah, not too many of us. They couldn't handle us, you know.
Now at that time, did you know we were probably going to get involved in the war?
Oh, figured on it, really.
Why was that?
Well, the way Germany was going and everything else, and we weren't prepared. In other words, we trained in Camp Claiborne, Louisiana. The artillery was stovepipe for artillery pieces, and they dropped bombs, which was flour.
Why did they do that?
They didn't have the equipment. I was driving a old Federal truck. We had a Federal truck. In other words, the truck driver, a medical or a surgical technician.
So you don't think that the country is very well prepared for what happened in December?
No, and I hate to see them go down as much as they have now.
I'm going to pause this just a sec. Continue. Just tell me about basic and kind of what you did after you left basic training. Or whatever you want to tell me.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Iowa County, Iowa, March 3rd, 1918. And was raised on the farm, graduated in Millersburg High School, but I was born on the farm. No hospitals or anything like that.
Born in the farmhouse.
Yep. I think on the kitchen table.
Was there a doctor there?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But then I worked with Dad on the farm until I bought trucks. And I bought livestock on commission and had the trucks. So I had 2 trucks and a driver.
Is that your own business, you mean? You had your
Yes.
own business?
Until I was drafted.
And that was in 41.
In 1941, I was drafted May 2nd of 41. And the farm was in between North English and Millersburg, Iowa, which is in the southern part of Iowa County.
Okay.
and I was drafted through the draft board at Iowa County, and then was sent to Camp Claiborne and joined the National Guard from units from Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. There's a medical unit, just like the old MASH unit.
Okay.
The MASH unit, only we didn't have hot labs or all the equipment.
Let me change one thing here. I got basic training.
Yes, but I had been dating a nice school teacher that taught in Deep River, Iowa, which is about 12 miles west. And I thought she was very nice then, and I still do. After almost
54 years later.
After almost 54 years. And but then I didn't see her from December the 31st of 1941 till June 11th of 1945. I was overseas, and when you got over there, at then you didn't get rotation. Very little. When I got out, I had 117 points. I was wounded once in St. Agatha, Italy. It's on my discharge there, if you want to take that and put anything on it. Yes, we trained with stovepipe and flour and the old federal trucks. We had no equipment. And finally we did get short artillery trucks, 6x6s.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean, 6x6?
Well, you can throw the front wheels out of gear, but all 6 wheels will drive.
Okay.
That's what practically all the Army had, was all drive vehicles. Mm-hmm. And we were, at the last, the best equipped Army in the world. Mm-hmm. And furnished England, we saved England. And I shipped out is sometime in January, February for North Ireland.
Okay.
We landed at Belfast, took further training in Belfast, and then some of our men volunteered for the Ranger Battalion.
Now, did you go from Louisiana to Ireland?
Well, we went to Camp Shanks first. It was It was a camp up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And we was there waiting shipment.
So when did you go to Ireland?
Is in February.
Of 42.
Yes, of 42.
So we were at war by then, of course.
Yes.
And what did you do when you got to Ireland?
Trained.
What kind of training?
Well, we was with a medical training. We had one lieutenant, he was a captain, and he said, "Fellas, I'm supposed to give you a class on first aid." He said, "Hell, you know more about it. You've had it poked at you." He said, "Let's sit down and have a bull session, and you can ask me questions." And we did, and you get more out of that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was several people from my hometown down there that was in the Guard. One of them was just retired from the VA dentistry out in Colorado.
Oh,
And another one's dead now, Bus Hall. In fact, there's a lot of us dying. And but
Can I try and close those curtains? That might. I do still see a reflection there. Is
just,
that going to be a problem?
are
with the
you
plants?
shut off?
Yeah, I'll pause it here.
North Ireland, went over to Scotland. I done all the traveling I could on furloughs,
Sightseeing.
sightseeing, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and all that. In fact, went up, and the British is very strict. Like they had a sergeant's bar up there. We took troops up to march for the King and Queen on review, and you never saw so many jackets and shirts getting changed in your life. Every one of us was sergeants. So you can trust Americans for that.
You never made it to London, though, huh?
Oh yes, London, Edinburgh.
Well, was that during the Blitz, or was that over by then?
Oh no, it was during the Blitz.
Did you see any of that while you were
No.
in London? Or?
We saw the damage, but it didn't happen to be in one.
Was there a lot of damage?
Oh yes, a lot. And they were shipping their children out side of London.
To protect
That's
them.
when Winston Churchill had his coveralls and his cigars. And Edinburgh, Glasgow. Oh, also, I flew with the Coastal Patrol in North Ireland. Their submarine patrol is a Canadian outfit mostly, and they were more like the Yanks, and that just griped the British. They'd walk along, their hands in their pockets, and all that, and the British would growl at them, and we had a theater there, and they wanted a seat by the different ranks. We give them one side of the theater, and we sat where we darn well pleased. And but their hobnails and their boots on frosty pavement, they were just slicker and all get out. But no, London was very interesting. We went London and landed at Oran on my first wedding anniversary.
You landed where?
At Oran, North Africa.
Okay.
Our combat unit, which was 168th, had taken that, Oran, and then they took us out to City Bell Bess for a while, just a little town.
What country would those be in today?
Oh, North Africa.
Okay.
And then we went on down to Clemson, which was a French Foreign Legion barracks.
Okay.
And we had to clean that out, the straw and everything, because of the bed bugs. But there they had the different kinds of toilets. Foreigners use them a lot. There's just a hole over the sewer with foot pads on each side.
Pretty primitive, huh?
Oh yes. But after the North African campaign, which was we broke the Germans back at Hill 609. That's when our division really started. We had a first call of 1,600 men, 108 officers or something like that. 1,800 men at least for the infantry. Had been in the campaign and captured mostly. And then,
Before you got there?
oh, while I was there,
Okay.
at Hill 609, they tried it and they took the walking artillery and their infantry would follow that up the mountain. And the Germans were very, very shocked. And there was bayonet fighting. In fact, Father Hoffman, which the armory is named for in Dubuque, most decorated chaplain in the United States in the services, I guess, laid out with a wounded man. In fact, he had to go real bad and he didn't dare move till dark. And he had to go to the bathroom and he went in his pants. But Father Hoffman lost a leg later in Italy in a minefield in a cemetery the Germans set up, taking a German out of there. And they said Father Hoffman's mined in there and he's German. He said, that man has a soul too. And he lost his leg, getting that German out of there.
And he was decorated for that.
Oh yes. They had a special deal. They gave Silver Star wasn't supposed to be given except to combat. But they gave Father Hoffman the Silver Star. And he was a man over there. The chaplains we had were just swell fellows. And if you need a favor, one of them, you just go to them. In fact, there's a fellow from Williamsburg that I knew, Iowa, that he laid out a casino, I forget for how long, and gangrene set in his leg, and they had to take it off. And he come back and he said, can you write back and get back to my mother? I said, I'll do my best, Moo. We called him Moo Shanahan, which he was. He's in the infantry. And so I went to the chaplain and I said, I need a favor. I told him what it was. He said, fine. He censored the letter and let her go right through. In fact, we had one captain always censored him. It said, I don't want to read what you write your wife, and I don't want you reading what I write. And he just signed his name.
They had the censorship so that the enemy intercepted the mail, they wouldn't learn your position or something like
yes.
that?
But they knew where we was at. Axis Sally.
Tell me about Axis Sally. What's that?
She was a propagandist for the Germans. Speak good English, and we listened to her a lot because she played good old home music.
What kind of things would she say?
Oh, that we were getting beat and we was fighting for the rich people that sleeping with their wives and everything like that.
Did that have any effect on your morale at all?
No. In fact, it raised it, really.
Why is that?
Well, you know she was lying. Some did have it, but one fellow got a Dear John letter, and he come back home and remarried her. But there at casino, they had about 200 or 300 stretcher bearers off the top, off down. They couldn't use even mules. Only an emergency, you know. They packed supplies up with mules.
Now, casino is in Italy?
Yes.
Is that in the Alps? Or what mountains is that?
What Apennines, I think it is.
Okay.
That's where the monastery is that we blew down.
Your unit was involved in that?
Oh yes, I stood at the bottom of the mountain, looked up, most beautiful sight you ever saw. The bombers would come over and open their bomb doors. You see them, the big ones tumble out, and then the dive bombers come over. But the catacombs under the casino was safe. The bombs couldn't reach them.
Why were they bombing the monastery?
Well, the Germans had it fortified. They had no reason for the churches, you know. They fought, in fact, Burl Jones from here, he was in the Battle of Casino, and a lot of our men were. In fact, I got one of my best replacements from there. He came back, his wife just died of cancer of the kidney. She had to be on dialysis every day out in Pennsylvania. I had him in working in my, it was either surgical or medical tent there, and the first sergeant come in and asked how he was doing. I said, good. I said, he did sterilize the thermometer in boiling water. I said, that didn't do it any good. And he said, we need 2 men. Would you break him in if we keep him? I said, if he wants to stay, yes. Walked back, I said, Don, would you like to stay with us? Oh, yes, I would. And he's been my old buddy ever since.
What was your rank at that time?
T5.
What does that mean?
Well, it'd be 2 stripes with a T under it.
Okay, is that like a corporal or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, our company commander, Shep, he told us we all deserve better rank in there. He said, it's not available. He said, well, sign your transfer. Not one man transferred.
No one wanted to stay.
Yep. I tried in North Ireland to come back for officer training in MAC, Medical Administrative Corps. And they moved it to 28 instead of 24. Mm-hmm. And the fellow I was talking to in division headquarters told me, he said, well, you can pass your battalion, but forget, I'm on the division board. He said, they've held you up. Do you want infantry? I said, nope, I'll stay at T5 Medical Corps the rest of my career. And I did.
Well, what were your duties in the medical corps? What did you do?
Well, in between moves, I drove truck. And then in surgical, take care of the surgery patients. We could only keep them 2 days. And when I was wounded, they turned me loose in 2 days, but I kept records.
Okay.
I got tangled up with 2 German landmines, double tellers.
Double tellers, what's that?
Oh, they're a pancake mine with, I think there's 11 pounds of TNT in each of them. I backed over to the right rear wheel of a command car. We was cleaning out a place to receive patients. And the fellows beside me, I never saw him again. They sent him on back. And one fellow was in the trailer we had made up. And he flew up, he knocked the trailer and command car up so he could see chickens on the other side of the stone fence. And with me underneath the gas, it didn't catch fire, thank God. And some lieutenant come up. He said, "Soldier, how you doing?" I said, "All right, I got a broken shoulder." He said, "You want a cigarette?" My company commander was down there then, and he said, "No, there's gas over here." I said, "No, I don't want any cigarettes." And they used a plank to pry the car so I could crawl out. And I looked where that plank was setting, because they'd bury him down and then they'd compress. After so many vehicles went over him, they'd compress. Oh, they were mine experts. Then they'd put piano wire in between, across. That's why you see the old Jeeps with a piece of iron sticking up from this bumper and a hook.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason. They take piano wire and it wasn't too good on your neck and the head.
Okay. Where did that happen at that you were wounded? Where were you at?
St. Agatha, Aetaa, just south of Naples.
Okay. And when was that?
It's on,
Sometime in 42?
yes. It's on, let's see.
Oh.
Oh, yes, after the African campaign, it's, I went Sousse and Carolyn. But at Carolyn, to the Arabs, that's the same thing going Carolyn 3 times is same as going to Mecca.
Oh, okay. Well, when you were in North Africa, did you see much of the enemy?
Oh yes, as prisoners, but they is mostly running. A lot of it.
Was Patton there then?
Yeah, he was.
Did you ever see him?
I don't know whether I ever did or not.
And the Germans were under Rommel at that time, right?
Yes. I think you'll find that on that tape. And the date I was wounded is on that dark piece of paper over there.
All right, well, we can get that later.
And oh, I was up Carthage too.
Mm-hmm.
The old city
The
of
ancient
Carthage.
city? Mm-hmm.
And
Is there anything there?
Huh?
Is there anything there?
Oh yes, there's a beautiful church.
Oh.
And while we was in there, we met a lawyer, French lawyer, attorney, and he welcomed us to his home, and his sister, when we came, moved out. Gave us their apartment, and we had a place to keep our command car. And I'd usually take an extra 5 gallons of gas, or 10, in those cans, and they liked that. And they treat us like royalty.
Gas was pretty scarce for them, I suppose.
Yeah, oh yeah. His name was Jack Citric.
Citric? You remember that after all these years, huh?
Yeah.
Did you ever contact him again?
I never did. I always wanted to, always thought I would.
So the German troops you saw in North Africa were some of Rommel's troops that had been captured?
Oh yeah. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's 70,000 we captured one time. In fact, in that way I saw like the Leaning Tower,
Mm-hmm.
St. Peter's, that ball on top of St. Peter's will hold 11 people.
How'd you find that out?
Oh, we walked up to it.
Uh-huh.
And you can see all over the courtyard. I have pictures of it.
Okay, so when you went from North Africa to Italy, was that after the invasion, or did you go with the invasion of Italy?
We went in D11 at Salerno
Okay.
after Sicily.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in there when Vesuvius erupted.
Oh, really? You
And-
saw the volcano erupt?
Yeah, it ruined a bunch of our airplanes. And then what was the most interesting was the old town of Pompeii. That was one that was covered up when Vesuvius first erupted.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's wheel tracks in the stone of the carriages worn in, and the stepping stones across, and the penis and the testicles pointing towards the house of ill fame. And the guard opened it up for us. And when my wife and I was back over there, I asked him, and he opened it up for us. But we didn't try anything. But
But you say the volcano actually erupted while you were there,
yes,
and you say it ruined some of the planes. How was that?
our airplanes,
Yeah.
hot ashes.
The planes were covered with ash, or?
I guess I didn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
And then see the Germans had bombed the post office, and it went off while we was around there.
Okay.
Then we went on up through, well, I have 3 battle stars. Rome, then we went into Anzio. And then old Anzio Annie was asking about that gun. Well, it was a big railroad gun on rails, and they pulled it back into a tunnel. They'd take it out and shoot it at the beachhead a few times. and then pull her back before they get contact with it. That was captured at Civitavecchia. I have pictures of that.
Did you see that gun?
Oh yes.
Huh.
And they were shooting at the ships in the harbor, and they had our planes over at the Anzio beachhead and bagged all around them. And one of the fellows told me his wife was originally from Radcliffe. Her boyfriend got shot down. I said, hey, I saw that. I saw him bail out into the harbor. And they hit a plane load of German plane loaded with bombs. That made a nice fire.
You saw that too?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh, Siena and Florence. In Florence, there's something interesting. The Germans bombed every bridge over the river at Florence, except one. Is Ponte Vecchio. It's a city bridge of shops, and they didn't bomb that one. Historical.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they spared it, or they just missed it?
Oh, they spared it. And then they had outside urinals there without any covering. And when my wife and I was over there, I said, let's walk down this street. And went down there, and there's where they bricked him up.
Oh. Since you had been there before?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But and then we went on up. Something might interest you, too. At the last push up through the Po Valley, which is Rich Valley, we captured the German 34th Division. Intact, they gave up. And they had their own ambulances and their MPs with it, directing traffic. They come in, fill up gas, and go back and get more of their wounded.
I mean, you would give them gas to go back and get
Yes.
their wounded? And then you would treat their wounded?
Yes.
How many people were involved in that surrender? How many men?
Oh, Lord, I don't know. We had about a 12,000 man division, and we had 60,000 replacements. 34th.
That's quite a few.
Yeah, Amby Coyle was in it too. Eddie Klutzer. Burl Jones here, Leon Deibler, Ray Day.
You were all in the 34th?
Yes, I didn't know him till I got out. You just don't get to know 60,000 people.
Yeah, I guess that's understandable. It's a lot of people.
You take a bath outside and you crap outside. But something that is interesting, for the last push up through the Po Valley, I pulled my truck over a bomb crater. And they told us that they was putting up a flak line 10,000 feet above our front line. And our Air Corps was coming over at 12,000. Everything on the other side was their meat. And you never, planes and planes and planes. They had it.
That made all the difference, didn't it?
Oh yes, when you get the equipment. Why, Montgomery would have had a heck of a time without the American equipment. England would have been down the tube. I'd like to, some fella up in England told me the Americans hadn't done anything yet. I would have liked to have had him along when I got down to Africa. Here they come with our equipment better than ours.
The British were using American equipment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned the Battle of Rome. What do you remember about that?
It wasn't too much.
They didn't put up much of a fight there, did they?
No.
Why do you suppose that is?
Oh, sometime about like the bridge at Florence, I suppose. Or maybe they didn't have time. We broke out.
From the beachhead.
Oh yeah.
And then Mussolini was killed by his own people, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I was within 12 miles of the Swiss border. They told me I could come home. And I came through Milan, and Mussolini is hanging by his heels in the filling station. And I didn't see him, but he and his mistress.
That was in Milan and not
Yes,
Rome?
in Milan.
When you went through there?
Yeah, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I knew that he was hung. I didn't realize they hung him by his foot. The body was hung by his foot
With his feet upside
in a
down.
filling station.
But we had Germans all around us up through there. Went up, and the Italians were having a fiesta, the partisans mostly. And they was having their cheese and their wine and their salami. And we knew there was Germans all around us, but they didn't bother us. We went out one of the fiestas.
You celebrated with them.
Oh yes. Americans.
Americans were popular.
Oh yes, with the Italians even. They lost all interest to fight. In fact, one came to us. He was a deserter from the Italian army. He was from Milan. And Pete was his name. And when they got close to Milan, they took him up home to see his folks. Yeah, he came back, and some of our men's been over there and saw him. We called him Pete. I don't know what his right name was.
Well, usually deserters are treated harshly, but apparently he wasn't.
No. Italian deserters was a lot of the partisans.
They deserted the Italian army in order to fight the Germans.
Oh yeah. And I can't think of a heck of a lot more, but I'd like for you to try that. If you can run that VCR on that tape there,
Okay.
you can take it with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to take it with me if I could.
And a lot of the clippings, and I'll
I
show
can. You know, I could probably get a lot of the clippings on the camera here. I can hold it right over them. We could try that and see if that works.
Well,
you got some photos, you said?
Yeah.
We can just try those
I
right here.
got Lown and Hertz foxhole photos. We used X-ray chemicals and developed them in dugouts and foxholes.
Is that right? You developed your own pictures right there
Yeah.
in the field? You said Lown and Hertz. Who's Hertz?
Well, he was my bunkmate. He's from Iowa City. He's in bad shape right now.
You kept in touch with him over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So he took some of these pictures too.
Well, I don't think he had a camera. I did. And whatever he wanted, we got.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can get some of those. Anything else you want to add before we finish up here? You had some interesting experiences, that's for sure. You were in North Africa and Italy, right? And then you were sent home.
Yeah, North Ireland, too.
Before you went to North Africa.
Oh, yeah.
And when you were wounded, you said you broke your shoulder?
Yes.
And that healed okay eventually? No?
The patrol didn't know it.
Well, it wasn't bad enough to send you home at the time, though, right?
I told him I wasn't going back to Africa. Shep. He said, can you fix him up to one of the other doctors? I said, yeah. Think I can? So, they discharged me after 2 days, and I kept records
Okay.
of his either medical or surgical tent. I even took my own medicine, sodium amytal for pain.
So they basically gave you a desk job after you were injured.
Well, till I get, the only thing I had to have done for me was wash my mess kit.
You weren't able to drive a truck anymore, though, were you?
Oh, well, no, not for, a couple months, or a month or so. But see, this buddy of mine from North English died, was a transportation sergeant. Anytime I wanted a vehicle, I got it. One time we was up by the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I went to the captain, or Major Shepherd, our company commander, and I said, some of us like to go up and see the Leaning Tower. He said, okay, take my Jeep. And I said, fine. He said, wait a minute. I said, if there's enough, take a command car. Oh, he said, have Nose call them all out there as a top kick and find out how many wants to go. And I took a truckload up.
To go sightseeing.
Yeah. I figured I'd never be back.
And that wasn't damaged in the war? The tower wasn't damaged in the bombing or anything?
No.
Good.
Still leaning. Almost too far. They won't let people in it now.
Oh, is that right? When you were in North Africa, was your medical unit quite a ways behind the lines or fairly close?
Well, our medical unit was made in 2 platoons. One would leapfrog the other one.
Oh, okay. Okay. And they'd bring the wounded back to you.
Yeah.
And you'd treat them as best you could, and then the other unit would leapfrog in front of you for the next batch. Is that it?
No, they just leapfrogged as long as they was needed there, and then we'd send them back to the field hospital.
Okay. So you were not a field hospital.
No,
What's the difference between your medical unit and the field hospital?
we're mobile. We were mobile. The field hospital
Okay.
was less mobile
It was a more permanent
and
location.
safer,
Okay.
much.
So you were like a mass unit, like
Yeah.
you said. So you were fairly close to the front lines.
Yes.
A few miles? Or?
Well, was usually out of rifle fire, machine gun, and mortar.
How about artillery?
We were in it.
Was your unit ever hit by artillery?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Did you lose people that way?
No, we were very, very lucky. And another thing we had with us was the Nisi. They took, and they were good fighting soldiers. In fact, this Kanami Matsunaga was down to the tent, our dugout one night. That's where we made a lot of our pictures. And he saw my wife's picture hanging up above the stretcher we slept on. And he said, "She looks nice." I said, "Kanami, she is. I think she's my wife." I said, "He's just a young kid." I said, "Why don't you write her a letter? She'll answer you." My sister and Marine started sending packages, like popcorn. He's liberated a bunch of buttons up in southern France and sent them. She's still using a few of them. And she then the package was returned, killed in action. Huguenot Forest. They went in and captured that lost battalion. And the Germans surprised to see the Japanese. They told them, and you know, Japan surrendered and fighting on the American side now. Oh, she married, his sister married another one that was in there. Richard and Catherine Miyakawa. They've been over here.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Nisi were they were allowed to be in combat units. They weren't.
Well, they was going to put them garden trains, and they went in and said, "We come over here to fight, to prove ourselves." Kanami said, "My dad told me I had Japanese blood, but I was an American."
And they fought well.
Oh, you better believe they did. They were fighters. Richard told me he doesn't say too much. His sister does. And Richard told me, he said, I had that stuff rattling off my helmet and a hole shot through my pants leg, but I never got touched.
Now, were most of them like from the West Coast, or all over, I suppose?
The Una Puka Puka, the 100, was from Hawaii. Then the 442nd was mainly the West Coast.
Okay. California, probably.
Yes, mostly.
I wonder if some of their families were in the internment
Oh,
camps.
yes. They came right out of the internment camps.
Really?
Yes.
So while their parents were left behind barbed wire, they were off fighting for their country.
Yep.
Well, that says a lot, doesn't it?
That shows they are Americans. And one of the nicest things I can see to this day is the old stars and stripes flying.
Makes you feel proud.
Yes, very proud.
Well, you deserve to feel proud. People my age probably don't appreciate it enough, but for the most part, I think we do appreciate what your generation did for us. We wouldn't have a country like this today if you didn't.
No, we wouldn't have. and we lost a lot of lives by not being prepared.
I think we were definitely unprepared when it started.
Oh, definitely. When you're using a federal truck with just a regular truck chassis on it, instead of 6x6s with all-wheel drives. In fact, one pass, I hauled German prisoners one day, and they asked me anything I wanted. Offer them. I forget what I told that MP I wanted. He liked it. I put chains on the front wheels to control it, and I'd drive her and get them back to the Red Cross for donuts and stuff. And we had good cooks too.
You ate well during the war.
In Africa, I'd take stuff out and trade it to the Arabs for eggs.
They were willing to do that.
Oh yeah. Then we had about 80 dead outside of our unit in Fondue, I believe it was, and we had to move up. We moved up and come back and set up the same place. And the Arabs already in there digging up the old arms and get the uniforms.
Digging up the bodies?
Yeah, digging the pit where we'd amputated arms and stuff.
Oh, I see. For what reason?
To get the uniform, clothes to wear.
Did you lose any friends during the war?
Oh yeah.
How many?
Oh heavens. Like Moo, Harry Reid we knew. He was all right. He got near too much artillery fire. He's deaf in a doornail now. He's from North English. We lost a few.
How about people in your unit? Anybody in your unit get hit?
We got hit, but not killed.
That's good. Okay. Anything else you want to?
I was one of the few that got wounded.
Mm-hmm. And your shoulder still has problems.
Yeah, I'm going in and ask them for more pension.
Mm-hmm.
Because I fell, went backwards a year ago last September and hit my head on the coffee table.
Oh no.
And the fluid come in between my skull and the tissue that covers the brain. They said it'd act like a stroke, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But the doctor says I'm 100% disabled, and I figured all that time I might as well get some.
And that'd be up to the VA, right?
Yeah, and DAV.
Hmm.
Well, DAV will fight for you.
Mm-hmm. The VA makes the decision.
Oh yeah.